started to pick back up. And if you don't have a weight problem, that's fine. Then what I want you to do is that one that you type, like the fatigue and energy, tell me when that started. If you have digestive problems, when did you start having digestive problems? When did you start having sleeping problems? So someone said tilt your camera down. Okay, good. How was that? Thank you. It just went back up. I'm just going to tap. All right. So, yeah, if you have memory problems, when did it start going down? Right. Type down the age. Okay, 35, 47 years old, 45, 38, 42. Okay, good. Pregnancy. 40, 50, 18 after birth control pills, child, hysterectomy, gallbladder removal. This is so typical. Lupus, marriage, divorce, stress event. Interesting. Due to blood pressure medications. Wow. 30, 45, 40s, 8 years old. Okay. Wow. Okay, so now we have two things. We have your primary weak link underneath the weight, which could be usually fatigue, sleep, and things like that. And then number two, we have when your weight loss or weight gain started. You can do this with anything. You can do this with a symptom. But it gives us a lot of good data because it then tells us the location of what we need to work on. And I'm going to explain location in a second. So we have two problems right here. We have what to eat to lose weight, how to exercise, and then over here we have your body's reaction to the things that you do. I want to put more attention on the body's reaction because when you're probably 18 years old, you can eat what you want and you just lose weight pretty easily. But as you age, things become more difficult because the body is no longer responding to those triggers. There are 6 fat-burning hormones, and there are 3 fat-making hormones. And the fat-making hormones are the dominating hormones. In the presence of a little bit of those hormones, all of these fat-burning hormones get squashed, nullified, they don't work. And that means that all it takes is a little bit of sugar, a little bit of stress, and a little bit of estrogen to really just kind of stop all your work, all your progress. So what we want to do is we want to figure out a way to speed that up and remove the barriers. And if we take and look at a lot of people, the weight starts after a stress event, okay? So let's just talk about stress for a second because stress is the number one thing that affects your sleep, your memory, your cognitive function, your energy, the function of your glands, and especially belly fat. Okay? So yes, we have sugar in food and junk food, but stress is probably a really big one, especially as you age and you get into menopause. I had a lady come in. I did a video on her today, and I'm going to post it in a few days. But she came from Ohio, and she stayed for 3 days, and she was doing fine until she hit age 34, and she was married to a psychotic person for a long time. But because she lived close to a support structure with her family, she was able to cope. But then they moved away, and then in a matter of a year, they had about 19 people die around them and 4 suicides. It was just crazy. So as soon as that she got her husband out of the picture, she just withered, completely burnt out, couldn't sleep, cannot relax, and just gained all this weight. So she's in the healthcare field and she's done everything, but nothing's worked. So she came in, and it was a lot of emotional stress. So emotional stress is probably 1,000 times more damaging than physical stress because it really shuts down the adrenal gland. So we did acupressure on her adrenal glands for every hour and a half for 3 days in a row, and I did a video, and you'll see how she feels now. She's basically feels like she's completely renewed. She can sleep. She has tons of energy. She has a sense of relaxation that she's never experienced in her life. She's going to start losing weight now because we're pulling the stress out. So what I like to do is I like to isolate what was the trigger, and the trigger being, was it pregnancy? Was it a surgery? Was it a gallbladder surgery? Was it a menopausal thing? And then what we want to do is we want to take the location of where that trauma is now affecting your body. If you had a lot of menstrual periods every month for your whole life that was very, very crampy and bleeding, and then you had DNCs, and you had pregnancies and tubal ligations, and then a fibroid and then hysterectomy, you have a lot of trauma in that area of the body, in your private parts. And that area, that trauma, can affect severely the adrenal, because the adrenal is the backup. So you would want to remove that trauma from the body because it impinges and it gets stuck in the body. So there's a couple ways that we do it. We do it with acupressure, we do it with food, we do it with nutrition, we do it with exercise. If the person had a gallbladder removal, and they started gaining weight, how do you remove that injury? We do acupressure on that. I'll touch on that in a little bit, but I want to kind of give you an overview of that. We have the underlying 7 factors, and then we have the triggers that are found out by date coincidence. When did it start? What happened just before? And then we have the location of the body that you're holding most stress. So those are some of the things that we work on. Had another lady. She started gaining weight when she was 9 years old. That was her first period. It was a bit early, and she started noticing she started getting pretty large breasts at 9. When she hit 13, she got a double D. She had a breast surgery at 13, and estrogen started going more and more and more and more. And she had a lot of weight in the lower part of her body, and breast and upper body. So estrogen makes the fat on the hips and eventually in the arms back here. And that's what she looks like exactly. Another patient came in. She came in Monday. Here's another example. And this is a case that a person has gained weight her whole life. And when she was 4 years old, she was somewhat okay. Her and her sister are about the same size. And she's Asian, so normally her family is very petite and small. And she's kind of the big one in the family. But what's interesting about her, she had earlier infections of the throat, the lung, the sinus, really, really bad. But her sister didn't have it. So what happened is that she started gaining more weight in the stomach, and then now she's probably in her 30s right now, and she has a pretty big stomach. So she's been trying to lose weight, nothing's working. And the earlier trigger was the earlier infections back when she was 4 years old. That is still affecting the body. You have to look way, way back. The thing that really gets her is her sister is not only America, she's actually Mrs. Universe. She does bodybuilding, and it just eats her up, because to have your own sister so beautiful, and she's the big one, and she's trying just as hard, and she's eating even better than her sister, is very crushing to her morale. So what we're going to do with that case is we are going to basically work with the earlier infections and work on the location of where she had all the respiratory and sinus, because she's not sleeping. It's just equivalent to a lot of applications in the desktop that we need to close down to speed things up. So what I want to do right now is I kind of gave you some principles. I want to answer some questions specifically on your cases. I know there's been a lot of questions. The thing is coming in really, really fast because there's a lot of people on the webinar, so I have to kind of pick and choose. So I want to find out if you have some quick questions relating to your body and situations you're running into, so I can give you some advice on what to do. And maybe you want to talk about questions on like your energy problem or your fatigue, your sleep problems or your digestive problems, and I'll help give you some advice. So, sorry for the loss of your son, Jan. Must have been awful. Oh, I didn't lose any family members. My son's still alive. I don't know what someone's saying there. Okay. I don't know what's happening there. Okay, so Jan says I've gained weight 4 decades ago. I'm 70. Energy is an issue. My lab tests are currently good. No indicators of inflammation or hypothyroid or diabetes. I cope with the family losses and live alone. The trigger was the death of my son. Oh, that's what you're talking about. I remained off medications. Okay. Now, here's the thing, that those losses, the stress gets stuck in your body as well. And I'm going to talk about the body stress. It's usually in the adrenal glands itself. And you need to probably learn how to do some acupressure on your adrenals. There's a device that I have. I'll show you. It looks like this. It's an acupressure device. I have them in all my rooms. You can do your neck, as you're sitting in a tall back chair, or you can do it on your adrenal glands. And I teach people how to do it at home if you're not in the area. So you can do that, and it'll actually help to kind of deflate some of the stress that's in the gland. The glands are little muscles that secrete hormones. And so if the hormone is too high cortisol, the gland needs to be worked on to get it to pump again. You can do it on diabetics, you can do it on adrenal, you can do it on thyroid, you can do it on ovary to help regulate the hormone output versus working on the actual hormone itself, which rarely works. You have to work on the gland. Okay, so that's something that I would recommend to do, Jan, because that would give you a lot of relief for sleeping and just high tolerance, so you can move on. It's a physical body, correction. The other thing that I want to mention on a side note, if you're stressed out and you're not sleeping, or if you're adrenal cases and you have belly fat, hands down, the absolute best exercise that you can possibly do would be walking. Not even as much yoga, but walking. Long walks, getting space, looking at a tree, a bird, and a cloud. Because what happens, we need to extract you from that computer. As you're on the computer all day, or like you're going to work and you're on a computer, you're thinking. Because I don't know if I could pull this up. I'm going to try something. I'm going to draw a little picture here. I have no idea if this is going to work. I'm going to try this here. Let me just try something here. This may work. Okay. All right. So here's what happens. A little diagram. This person is totally thinking all day long. Can't turn it off. Excessive analyzing. Okay. So they need to go, and not in a gym on a treadmill. They need to go out there and basically get space, get their attention going out, looking at birds, clouds, and trees, but without analyzing in them. Gives them a lot of space. And then the adrenals, which, see, when you're thinking, you're turning on all these pictures that are memories, and they have stress in them, and that keeps the adrenals just really just kind of wired. So that's just one point that I think is very, very important. Okay, so now I have another person that says hypothyroid, but I feel my body is fatigued and I have adrenal issues. I have a lot of stress in my life now, 48, coming through menopause, struggling with biggie tummy, can't fall asleep at night, and have low energy during the day. Okay, so this is a perfect person to analyze. They have hypothyroidism. That's going to cause fatigue, absolutely. But let me show you something, because there is 3 types of. So we're going to pull the string. She's fatigued, so we have energy problems. Okay. And now we know that the thyroid, hypothyroid, will do it. So the thyroid, I'm going to draw a picture of the thyroid. Okay, the thyroid is down. That's a really good picture. Now, the thyroid is always secondary to something else unless there is a primary injury or radiation therapy. Typically what happens is the thyroid will not be able to convert its hormones, T4, to the liver, okay? Because there's a digestive problem. It's usually low bile, B-I-L-E. In that case, if you took some bile salts, you'll notice your thyroid kick in. And how do you know you have low bile? You're bloated, you're constipated, you're you have you can't get satisfied when you eat, you get right shoulder pain. Those are all symptoms of low bile. Okay, the other symptom could be